Welcome to In Touch with the Tri-Cities, a weekly look at events and issues concerning your community.
This is In Touch with the Tri-Cities. I'm Roller, and today we're talking with Ernest Henderson, who's a Regional Associate Director with Treehouse, which is a foster care support service. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about Treehouse today.
All right, well, let's just start by asking you to describe Treehouse and its special place and focus in the foster care world.
So Treehouse is an organization in the state of Washington that works with youth in foster care. Our goal is to improve the lives of youth in foster care, improve their outlook, and with specific focus on education and improving their ability to graduate high school on time is one of our number one focuses.
Oh, okay. Now, Treehouse you're passionate about Treehouse. It's obviously close to your heart. Do you have a personal experience?
Yeah, I actually grew up in and out of foster care during most of my early childhood. After high school, I fostered several kids. My wife and I had more than 10 foster kids ourselves, and I've worked in nonprofits and education myself for over 20 years.
So this really is close to your heart. Yeah.
It is very close to my heart, yes.
Now, as far as Treehouse specifically, who are you helping then? Are you focusing on teens?
Our overall focus is any youth impacted by the foster care system, and our current scope of work is from birth to the age of about 26.
Okay.
We've spent more focus on high school youth and probably put more resources and time into that particular age group, though.
Okay. All right. So, one of your main focuses is getting kids through high school. Being in the foster care system make graduating from high school a lot more difficult for foster kids. What are their challenges? Why don't they graduate from high school at the same rate that other kids do?
Well, mainly the biggest problem is they experience so much transition in their life. They move from school to school, home to home, and statistically, you lose about 6 months of educational progress every time you move from one high school or one school to another. So we have kids that will move 3 to 4 times within a school year or even more. So that is the main barrier, is the number of transitions they're experiencing.
That's tough.
They also experience they experience a tremendous amount of trauma in their lives. They have what are called high ACEs scores, which are a metric that measure trauma as a youth. And so typically, the higher the ACEs score, the more difficult it is to perform academically. I think that,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that when their needs aren't met, it's hard to perform academically, and that's another focus that we have, is meeting their basic needs first. Oh,
I would absolutely agree with you. Now, so let's talk about that. What kind of assistance do you try and provide? And I was going to ask how it has an impact on their lives, but the impact is right there. If you can just finish that first hurdle of high school, that probably goes a long way. So back to the question, what does Treehouse do to help this?
So we have full-time staff that work in high schools across the state. I have about 15 to 20 of them in Eastern Washington that work directly in the high schools with the youth. They meet with them weekly. Often they meet with them daily. They provide mentoring. They have a couple of programs they run with them that attend to their attendance, behavior, course performance. And those are all really important. What it really comes down to on the personal level is that they're there as a person in their life they can come to. We're really non-punitive, so we're not the ones that are trying to they're not getting in trouble with us. We're keeping them accountable, but in a relationship-oriented way.
More of a support.
When it comes support, yes. So that we want to be that fixed person in their life that most foster kids don't have. And I think that's really the crux of why this program works.
That's an important piece of the puzzle, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's one of the most important parts. I think that's what separates us from other fairly similar programs, is that we are so intensely focusing on the relationship with the youth. And then we offer a lot of material resources. Right.
So you have educational advocacy, of course. I mean, you advocate for the individual teen. It sounds like you have kind of a network of support. There's a lot of different people specializing in a lot of different things that can collaborate to help the individual. You have something called you help launch success for these kids. Is this after high school? Do you go on, or does your help you said up until 26, so I'm assuming you would have some ideas as far as maybe continuing your education.
Well, there's this issue called aging out that most of our youth nationwide face. And when they turn 18, they're released from the system and all their supports go away. And it's an epidemic nationwide.
Oh, no.
There are some things that are put in place to fight that, but it's really a horrible thing. We recognize that, and so we need to be in place there and help them navigate post-secondary.
So if a child is in high school, when they turn 18, they're still in grade 12, they age out of the system regardless?
Yes.
Oh,
there are some programs that, even statewide, we have foster to 21, so youth that can stay in the foster care system after that, but it doesn't always work very well. They're still working out the kinks, I guess you could say.
Right. It's certainly something to aspire to, isn't it?
Right. So it's getting better, but we still have this aging out problem where kids are just left with this gulf of a lack of support.
Boy.
So our people that work with them switch their focus from, say, attendance, behavior, and course performance to HECs, which is housing, education, and career. So we're trying to make sure they have a place to live, that their bills are paid. They know they can navigate the education system, how to pay for school, what to do when you mess up. We're finding a lot of kids get into school great, and then they kind of flunk out, and they don't know what to do to get back into this place, so they just kind of let it go, and that's one of the worst things you can do.
Absolutely. A lot of us have been there.
We're focusing on, yeah, I certainly was.
Sure.
It took a few times to get done with my education because I wasn't prepared for it, and I probably had more support than many.
Well, I think it's very normal, but with these foster kids, they don't necessarily have a soft place to land. So it sounds like you guys are doing some very worthwhile support on members of our community who really need it. Now, one of the goals of Treehouse is that by 2022, kids in foster care will graduate at the same rate as their peers. And right now, I was shocked to find out that number's only 50%. It's only half the rate of other kids. So, you have a specific program called Graduation Success. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
That's the program I was kind of speaking of earlier, where our staff that work in the high schools with the youth, they usually have offices in their high schools. The youth can come by their office at any point, grab a snack, talk to them, check in. They meet with them at least weekly, oftentimes more. We provide school clothes, or we help them find ways to get school clothes, backpacks. We get all their material needs. If they want to play football, we make sure they have the gear. If they want to go to prom, we make sure they have the dress. We try to create an environment where they're experiencing high school on par with their peers that aren't in foster care, because we think that that's a barrier, an equity barrier. We find that when we do those things, they graduate at a much higher rate. The youth in our program typically have double the graduation rate of youth in foster care that aren't in our program.
Oh boy, that's
it's
awesome.
A rough number, but
that's great. Now, you guys are a nonprofit, which means that donations are probably appreciated. Now, other than monetary support, which is always useful, what are some other things that people could donate that would help? Are there physical items, or you tell me? What do you think?
Material needs have gone up tremendously since COVID. I mean, we can't shop as much. Donations are down across the board with nonprofits.
Okay.
So high quality, generally newer material needs are what we need. A lot of our youth, I mean, you can go really expensive we need cell phones and laptops, which sounds extreme, but our kids are doing school online and they don't necessarily have a way to communicate with their peers, their teachers, or internet access, even in their homes. So we're spending a lot of money on cell phones and computers. We also need clothing items. We need school supplies. We need people that are willing to step up and do drives. We have a whole infrastructure based around that, and it's really easy to do. They just have to email this address that I have, and they can any organization can set up a drive for Treehouse.
Well, how about you tell us what that web address is? Where would I go if I had something, or I wanted to donate a check? If I just wanted to donate money, or if I had an item I wanted to donate, how would I do that?
So there's two ways. If they just, for general overall purposes, go to our website, treehouseforkids.org. And the 4 is an FOR, so treehouseforkids.org. And if they are interested in doing a drive, send an email to drives@treehouseforkids.org.
Okay. All right. How about volunteers? Do you ever have a need for physical, in-person help?
We are still working on the infrastructure for supporting volunteers in Eastern Washington. We're an expansion that has only been going for about 4 years. We have a strong volunteer base in Western Washington. We're not quite there here in Eastern Washington. So we're still looking forward to doing that as soon as possible.
Something to think about, because that will come.
Absolutely.
Again, now this is really important. Give me that contact information. And aside from the website, do you have a phone number? Are you guys on social media?
We are on Facebook. We're on Twitter. And it's and the phone number to call for anything in Eastern Washington is 509-413-8146.
Okay. And
again, the website, treehouseforkids.org. And they can, either of those will get them into touch with people that can help.
Okay, and someone will answer them. Okay, a lot of good information. Yep. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I just want people to recognize that this is an incredibly underserved and marginalized population. It's really pretty basic and easy to help them just with material needs and with support. And we're doing everything we can to support them. This is a very difficult time for everyone, and our needs are actually increasing. So we're just working very hard to get this job done and to continue supporting our youth. And really, we would like to motivate people to step up and help in this time of need.
I understand. And we do have a great community here. So I have no doubt that will happen. This has been In Touch with the Tri-Cities. I'm Roller, and we've been talking with Ernest Henderson of Treehouse, a very worthwhile nonprofit that undertakes supporting those in foster care. We're getting kids through high school. It's apparent that you guys are committed and passionate, and I've really enjoyed talking with you today. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much for having us. I really appreciate it.
This has been In Touch with the Tri-Cities, a production of Stevens Media Group. If your nonprofit organization has a public service message to promote, please contact us at smgnorthwest.com.